So that's what I do, and I love what I do. And I talk about a lot of the same principles I visit with you in the book, The Mirror Test. And we had to take mirror test ourselves. We had to look in the mirror and proof of life, did we even fog the mirror? We looked in the mirror and we looked around and said our second test was, do we like what we see in terms of the look, the feel, and the way in which we represent ourselves in the product? And our third mirror test was, do we have the right leaders? Do we have the right people in the right jobs doing the right things at the right time? And so that was important for us. I want to thank you for inviting me and having me be a part of this. I ran long, I apologize, but I was on a roll. And I appreciate it, and I thank you for indulging me. I'll be back here at 10:15 if you want to get your book. I'll be more than happy to sign it. It went out yesterday. We pre-sold 50,000 copies, so which is awesome for a business book, as you well know. And so it looks like we're on the New York Times list tomorrow. So we thank you very, very much, and we thank you for having us. And please don't let anyone else buy anything other than Kodak, okay? Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Right, so absolutely amazing. How many presentations do you get to go through where kind of it pulls at your heartstrings like that, and you have a moment where it's pretty easy to get a little bit misty? So quick trivia question. All right, so in the Time to Smile video, anybody remember who the artist that did that? What the band was? Well, oh, you should have waited. All right, Band of Horses, $20. Here you go. Do you know the name of the song? Which I think is a little odd, right? Did you know the name of the song?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, you can imagine the name of the funeral. How many conversations we had to have. How can we pick a song that says it's the funeral?
Listen to the song.
Right, that's what I said. Listen to the frickin' song. I mean.
Cool. So, we are over late, but absolutely fantastic presentation. We have time for maybe 2 questions. Question from the audience? Okay, so I've got one. So a lot of the stuff that you talked about, Jeff, was you're a B2B brand. 70%, I think the number that you do is 70% of your revenue is B2B. But a lot of the things that you talked about, branded entertainment site, an iPhone app, social media, seem to be very much B2C concepts. So I have the question is, when you think about your marketing spend and you have to justify it to your chairman, right? Is that marketing spend focused on growing that business, or do you look more holistically about the impact of those advertising dollars across B2C and B2B, and then how do you think about justifying that?
Yeah, well, the first place, the first decision is how much sales is it going to drive. I mean, that's the way I look at things. And and the second piece of it is then, look, everybody that's in our B2B space is also one of our consumers. If we start moving all the way to the B2B and we don't make some of the transition and we don't show some strength in the consumer piece, they're not going to buy the B2B space. And they won't, because they still are misty-eyed, and we pull on those heartstrings when they were sitting in the B2C side. So we want to play both of those. So by focusing on the B2C side with the message, we have an undercurrent of what that message is. So, for instance, when we do the inkjet commercial, and we talk about the Print and Prosper campaign, which is what it's called. You print, you prosper. That's what we advertise about it. You print, you prosper. We don't have draft buttons on our printers. I mean, who has a draft, prints out a draft of a photograph? I mean, give me a break. The only reason you do that is because you can't afford the ink. So our competitors put a draft boat. So we focus in on the quality of the printing, the value of the printing, and so forth. That big inkjet printer, does anybody want to know what the name of the inkjet printer is? It's called the Prosper Press. So everything that we're doing, it's so intertwined with one another. It's like bam, bam. And that's what we try to do, and that's the way we describe it. And so, because we want to get 360 around that customer, and so we focus on that. And if they see, and we got some cool stuff on this side, then it makes the other stuff look cool too. Because it's hard to make those presses look cool. It's hard to make a printing plate look sexy. I mean, you can't. So, but you can make the other things look cool.
Great. One more question.
Over there. Oh, there's.
Stefan.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Oh. Thanks, Jeff, for a very inspirational and refreshing presentation.
Thank you.
I work in a media agency, and we're going through a lot of transformation, to do with digital, obviously, but that seems like a walk in the park compared to what you guys have done in Kodak. So I'm interested. My question is basically, where did you start? I mean, I heard you mention, I think, 60% of your staff are new to Kodak. So, where did you start? How did you make that?
Well, I think the first thing we started was when I got there 4 years ago. 4 years ago, April 29th. You know, I got sit down with Antonio, the chairman. I said, look, we're messing up because things are breaking. We bought this company, we bought this company, we bought this company. All had different names and everything. So the first thing I did was within 1 month of being there, I said, next month, everybody's getting the same email address. Everybody's answering the phone the same way. Well, we do things differently. Okay, now you're doing them the same. Great, appreciate it, it's nice, great, love it, but you're all going to have this email address. Well, the market knows this is that. Great. No. We're not going to become, you know, a house of brands. We're going to become a branded house. I mean, that's what we said we were going to do. That was number one. And we just put a stake in the ground because I think it requires someone to say, this is where we're going, get on it. And by the way, if you don't want to go there, understand, we love you, but we'll miss you. Very simple. Second thing is, when you're shoving all these things together, nothing's working right, okay? And so we didn't have a standard operating procedure. So when things were breaking, people were saying, well, that's the way Kodak does it. Well, no one wakes up every morning and says, I can't wait to be stupid. So we said we had to do something differently, okay? We find those people. We get rid of those pretty quick. But so what we did is we put together what we call our FAST program. I know it sounds like, oh, a corporate program, but it was really, truly focus, accountability, simplicity, and trust. And so even if we screw up, we do it faster. Focus is what's my job? What am I supposed to be doing? My accountability, what are my promises I got to do? By the way, there's a chapter in the book about this too. And because I do it everywhere I go because that's what I do, is I come into companies, do this, and this is the longest I've ever stayed in one company in my life, which has been absolutely wonderful. And I've beaten the trend, which has been 4 years as opposed to 18 months for an average CMO. And then accountability is one of my 5 or 6 promises I got to deliver. S stood for speed when we first started the campaign. And then about 3 months in the campaign, the CFO came to me and says, Jeff, I want to sit down. We had lunch. He goes, doesn't fast mean speed? I went, Frank, you're exactly right. And he goes, can we change it to simplicity? Because it's so hard to change things in here. You know, he was new too. And he says, it's just so hard. He says, we got all these rules, regulations. CFO was telling me this. All these rules, regulations. He says, can't we make things simple? How about we change the S? I said, it's great. And he goes, but it's in the middle of the campaign. I said, who cares? That'll show an example of fast.
Yeah.
And so we changed it. So, I mean, it was awesome because then people say, well, they can do it, we can do it. And then T stood for trust, or what we call healthy debate. Because you got to imagine a big hierarchical organization, which it was. I mean, there were certain rooms you couldn't book unless you were a corporate executive. There were dining rooms at one time for executives over, and different levels of dining rooms depending on what your status was. I mean, I couldn't even book a conference room until I became a corporate officer because you couldn't book them. I had to go through the CEO to book a flipping conference room, which I pointed out was wrong and got fixed, you know. So fast, and so we wanted people who wanted debate. That means challenges, not a democracy, but that they could bring it up. You know, we still we can make decisions, somebody else can make decisions, but, you know, that's what we did. So fast. And now people run around and say, well, I'm fast. And the other one says, well, I'm faster. And then somebody else says, I'm fastest. And so that's what we wanted to do. And they go all through the entire organization. And so we have a FAST Academy, which we have, you know, on our website. We do fast videos. We do courses around it. And it's all designed to go after the operating procedure. Now, a lot of people say that's a culture program. It's not a culture program. Culture program is our culture is who we are. He's Kodak, he's Kodak, she's Kodak, she's Kodak, and together we're Kodak. That's our culture. And that culture will evolve and change over time because I am Kodak. And as I am Kodak, I'll change my own culture. As a group, we'll do it together. But fast means I'm going to stand for something. This is the way we're going to run our business. And so that's how we did it. So thanks a lot. I'm sorry. Thanks a lot.
This is great.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.